She stood there, soaked from head to toe, dripping water onto the marble floor of the reception area. When he first saw her, Robert Montgomery had no idea that this woman would change his life forever. Sarah Olson was standing in the torrential rain of the downtown corporate district, clutching her document folder against her chest like a shield. The gray sky was dumping water, as if trying to wash the entire city clean. And she had no umbrella, no cash for a cab, nothing left but this one shot she'd landed after 4 months of unemployment. The interview at Montgomery Corporation was scheduled for 2 in the afternoon, and she was already 10 minutes past. She looked up at the 30-story mirrored skyscraper that rose imposingly before her, its modern facade reflecting the heavy clouds. It was the kind of place people like her usually only entered to clean. "I can't give up now," she muttered to herself, quickening her pace even as her shoes squelched like wet sponges with every step. The green blouse she had chosen specifically for the interview was completely drenched, clinging to her body in a way that made her deeply self-conscious. Dark hair streamed water down her face, mixing with the tears of frustration she was trying to hold back. When she pushed through the revolving door into the lobby, a blast of air conditioning hit her like a cold slap. Sarah paused for a moment, dripping water onto the Italian marble floor, and felt every eye turn toward her. The blonde receptionist, impeccably dressed in her navy blazer, stared at her with a mixture of horror and disdain. "May I help you?" The question came out in a tone that made it clear the last thing she wanted was to help. "I have an interview scheduled with Dr. Robert Montgomery, Sarah Olson. Subscribe to our channel and comment where you're watching from if you enjoy stories like this. Also, hit the like button." She tried to sound confident, but her voice came out slightly shaky. The receptionist typed something into the computer with deliberate slowness, her eyes scanning Sarah from head to toe with obvious disapproval. "You are 15 minutes late, and you are wet. I know I'm not presentable, but I can explain, miss. This is a serious corporate environment. Perhaps it would be better to reschedule when you can present yourself appropriately." Sarah felt her heart shatter. 3 months of searching, dozens of resumes sent. This was her first real opportunity at a legitimate company, and she was being dismissed before she even had a chance to show what she was capable of. "Please," she said, her voice barely a whisper. "I came all the way from Queens in this downpour because this job means everything to me. I know my appearance isn't ideal, but I can guarantee my qualifications are." In the panoramic elevator descending from the 30th floor, Robert Montgomery adjusted his Italian tie while observing the activity in the reception area below. At 35, he had inherited his father's business empire and transformed Montgomery Corp into one of the country's most respected consulting firms. He was accustomed to having total control over everything around him, but when his eyes landed on the soaked woman arguing with his receptionist, something shifted. There was a determination in that woman's posture that intrigued him. She was clearly at a disadvantage, but she hadn't backed down. She hadn't run away. Robert changed direction and, instead of heading to the garage, went straight down to the ground floor. When the elevator doors opened, he heard the last fragments of the conversation. "I'm sorry, but I cannot allow you upstairs in these conditions," the receptionist was saying. "What seems to be the issue here?" Robert's voice cut through the air like a blade, causing both the receptionist and Sarah to turn simultaneously. Sarah looked up and met the most intense gaze she had ever seen. Robert Montgomery was even more imposing in person than in the business newspaper photos. Tall, broad shoulders, perfectly tailored suit, dark hair precisely combed. But it was his eyes that caught her off guard. They weren't cold as she expected. They were curious, Dr. Montgomery. The receptionist immediately straightened up. "This woman arrived late and wet for an interview. I was explaining that it would be better to reschedule." "Sarah Olson," Robert interrupted, looking directly at her. "Yes, sir." Sarah tried to straighten up, even while dripping water onto the floor. Robert observed the situation for a moment that seemed to last an eternity. He saw the document folder she held so tightly that her knuckles were white. He saw the determination in her eyes, despite the embarrassing situation. He saw something he recognized: hunger for opportunity. "Brenda," he addressed the receptionist without taking his eyes off Sarah, Get her a towel and check if there's a spare blazer in human resources. But, sir, now. The tone allowed no discussion. Robert extended his hand to Sarah. Come with me. Sarah hesitated for a fraction of a second. It was happening too fast. It was too generous. Men like Robert Montgomery didn't usually give second chances to people like her. Thank you, she said, taking his extended hand. The touch was electric. Robert felt it too. It was just a handshake, professional, but there was something there neither of them expected. In the elevator, Robert broke the silence. Where did you come from, Queens? 3 buses and 40 minutes in the rain, and you were 15 minutes late. The last bus broke down. I walked the final mile. Robert studied her reflection in the elevator mirror. The wet green blouse outlined her body in a way he tried to ignore, but he couldn't ignore her posture. Even soaked, even clearly out of her element, she held her head high. Why this job? Because I need it. The raw honesty of the answer surprised him. I've been unemployed for 4 months. I have a 7-year-old daughter and bills to pay, but also because I studied for this. Business administration from NYU. Specialization in project management. Fluent English. I know I can contribute. Do you have experience? 3 years at Global Dynamics before they closed the New York branch. I managed the transition of 70 employees and kept all projects on schedule during the process. Robert nodded. He knew Global Dynamics, knew it had been a difficult situation. And why haven't you found another job immediately? Sarah hesitated. It was the question everyone asked, and the answer never sounded good. Tough market. And some companies were wary because of Global Dynamics, as if the bankruptcy was the employee's fault. The elevator stopped on the 20th floor. Robert guided her through a glass corridor that overlooked the city. Even wet and embarrassed, Sarah couldn't hide her admiration for the spectacular view. I've never seen the city from this high up, she admitted. Perspective changes everything, Robert replied. And she had the impression he wasn't just talking about the view. In the anteroom of his office, Brenda appeared with a plush towel and a navy blazer. It's all we had available, sir. Perfect. Sarah, use the executive restroom there to dry off. When you're ready, meet us in the conference room. When Sarah disappeared into the restroom, Brenda approached Robert with a worried expression. Sir, don't you think you're being too flexible? The company has standards. The company standards are mine to set, Robert interrupted her. And I'm interested in competence, not who was lucky enough to avoid the rain. 10 minutes later, Sarah entered the conference room transformed. The blazer was a little loose, but it matched the now dry green blouse perfectly. She had managed to tame her hair into an improvised bun and regained her composure. Robert was surprised to find himself thinking she was beautiful. More than beautiful. There was a light in her eyes that piqued his curiosity. Better, she asked with a small smile. Much better. Now tell me about Project Phoenix at Global Dynamics. The question caught her off guard. Project Phoenix had been confidential, a complex restructuring initiative few knew the details of. If Robert was asking about it, it meant he had done his homework on her. How did you know about Phoenix? I have my contacts. And I know you were the one who coordinated the data migration when the systems collapsed. Sarah straightened in her chair. She was finally on familiar territory. It was 3 weeks without proper sleep. We had to migrate 15 years of historical data without losing a single piece of information while keeping operations running. And you succeeded. We did. 0 data loss, 0 client downtime. It was the most challenging project of my career. Robert leaned forward, genuinely interested. For 20 minutes, they discussed technical details, creative solutions, crisis management. Sarah spoke passionately about the work, gesturing as she explained complex processes, and Robert found himself completely absorbed. It was the first time in years someone had talked to him about work without flattery or ulterior motives. Sarah wasn't trying to impress him with empty corporate jargon. She was simply sharing her experience with honesty and competence. Sarah, he said when she finished explaining a particularly complex process. Why should I hire you? The question caught her off guard. After all the technical conversation, it was a surprisingly direct question. Because you're not just hiring an employee, she said after a moment of reflection. You're hiring someone who understands that every project is an opportunity to make a difference. Someone who shows up soaked in the rain but doesn't quit. Someone who will treat this company as if it were her own. Robert remained silent for a long moment, just observing her. There was something about Sarah that sparked not just professional interest, but something deeper. A connection he hadn't felt in a long time. The position is Special Projects Manager, he finally said. Starting salary of $12,000 a month, profit sharing, full health plan. Interested? Sarah blinked several times, as if unsure she had heard correctly. $12,000 was double what she earned at Global Dynamics. Yes, very interested. Great, you start Monday. Robert stood up and extended his hand again. This time the handshake lasted a little longer than necessary. Thank you, Sarah said, her voice choked with emotion. You won't regret it. I know I won't, Robert replied. And he realized he was talking about much more than work. When Sarah left the building, the rain had stopped and the sun was beginning to peek through the clouds. She looked back at the mirrored Montgomery Corp building and smiled. For the first time in months, she felt hope. On the 30th floor, Robert remained at the window watching her cross the plaza. There was something about Sarah Olson that had awakened something inside him he thought was dead. And for the first time in a long time, he was looking forward to Monday. Monday, 7:30 in the morning. Sarah was in the Montgomery Corp lobby 45 minutes early, wearing her best navy suit and holding a leather folder she had bought Saturday with the last money she had. This time it wasn't raining. This time she was in control of the situation. The same blonde receptionist from the previous week greeted her with a forced smile. Good morning, Miss Olson. Dr. Montgomery is expecting you on the 20th floor. Sarah acknowledged her politely, but noticed the poorly disguised tone of disapproval. It was obvious that the news of her hiring had spread, and not everyone was happy with the boss's decision. On the 20th floor, Robert was waiting for her, accompanied by an elegant middle-aged woman. Grey hair pulled back in an impeccable bun and designer glasses. Sarah, this is Brenda Carter, our Human Resources Director. She will guide you through the first few days. Brenda extended her hand with a professional smile. Welcome to Montgomery Corp. I'm sure this will be an interesting experience for all of us. The tone of the phrase put Sarah on alert. There was something there that wasn't just corporate politeness. Your desk is in the Special Projects room, Brenda continued, guiding her down the corridor. You will work directly with the team that coordinates the company's most complex contracts. When they entered the room, 5 people simultaneously looked up from their computers. 2 men in suits, 2 impeccably dressed women, and a younger man who appeared to be an intern. The silence was awkward. Everyone, this is Sarah Olson, our new Special Projects Manager, Brenda announced. She comes from Global Dynamics and will be taking on some of our most challenging cases. One of the men, tall, dark-haired with modern framed glasses, stood up. Frank Collins, General Team Coordinator. The handshake was firm, but the smile didn't reach his eyes. Interesting hire. We weren't involved in the selection process. Dr. Montgomery insisted on handling it personally. Brenda replied quickly. Sarah, your desk is that one in the corner. The indicated desk was clearly the worst in the room. It was facing away from the window with no view, squeezed between a filing cabinet and the printer. But Sarah didn't complain. She had worked in worse places. Any questions? Brenda asked. I'd like to know about the current project, sir. The faster I understand the context, the faster I can contribute. Frank exchanged a look with one of the women. Sure, let's start slow. How about you review these reports? He dropped a stack of documents onto her desk. They are market analyses from the last 6 months. Nothing too complex. Sarah quickly flipped through the reports. They were basic analyses, the kind of work an intern would handle. It was clear they didn't want to give her anything important to do. Perfect, she said with a smile. I'll analyze everything and prepare a consolidated report with strategic recommendations. Frank blinked in surprise. That wasn't the reaction he expected. Throughout the morning, Sarah worked in silence, ignoring the curious glances and whispers of her colleagues. She knew she was being tested, that they were waiting for her to stumble, but she had survived the collapse of Global Dynamics and raised a daughter alone. She could handle hostile co-workers. At lunchtime, she stayed at her desk eating a sandwich she had brought from home while finishing reading the reports. That's when she noticed something interesting. There was an inconsistency in the data for 3 different clients, a subtle discrepancy that only appeared when comparing the reports side by side. Working through lunch. Robert's voice made her look up. "Dr. Montgomery, I didn't hear you come in. Robert is fine. We're colleagues now." He pulled up a chair and sat next to her. "How is the first day going?" Sarah hesitated. She didn't want to sound like she was complaining, but she also didn't want to lie. "Interesting, I'm learning about the team dynamics." Robert nodded. He knew Frank well and knew exactly what was happening. "And what did you think of the reports?" "Actually, I found something curious." Sarah picked up 3 reports and spread them on the desk. "Look at these growth numbers for clients, Anderson. Silva and Associates and Moray Corp." Robert leaned in to see better, and Sarah noticed his masculine scent, subtle but distinct. "All 3 reports show consistent growth over the last 6 months," she continued. "But when I cross-reference them with the billing data, there's a difference of almost 20%. Either the growth data is inflated, or we're losing revenue somewhere." Robert studied the numbers for a few minutes. Sarah was right. It was a subtle discrepancy that required careful analysis to detect, but it was there. "Excellent observation," he said. "How long have Frank and the team been working with this data?" "Based on the timestamps, about 6 months. And you found this in 4 hours." Sarah shrugged. "Auditing experience. At Global Dynamics, I was responsible for identifying inconsistencies before they turned into major problems." Robert smiled. That was exactly why he had hired her. "Can you prepare a detailed report on this discrepancy? I want to present it at the meeting on Thursday, of course. I'll need access to the original billing data. I'll arrange it." Robert stood up to leave but paused. "Sarah, I know it's not easy being the new person on an established team, but you are here because you have the competence to be here. Don't let anyone make you forget that." The rest of the afternoon passed more smoothly. Sarah immersed herself in data analysis, cross-referencing information, creating spreadsheets and assembling charts that clearly illustrated the discrepancy she had found. It was the kind of work she loved, detailed, analytical, requiring logical reasoning. At 5:30, when most people were already packing up to leave, Frank approached her desk. "Still working. The workday ends at 5. Just finishing an analysis, 15 more minutes." Frank looked at her computer screen, trying to understand what she was doing. "That's not the reports I gave you to review." "They are. But I found some inconsistencies that warrant deeper investigation." "What inconsistencies?" His tone turned defensive. Sarah turned in her chair to face him. "Discrepancies between growth data and actual billing. Nothing serious, probably just a typo or different methodology. These reports were approved by the board. They are consolidated and reliable data. I'm sure they are. I'm just doing a more thorough job." Frank crossed his arms. "Sarah, you've been here one day. Maybe it's better to learn our processes before questioning work that took months to complete." "You're right," she replied calmly. "I apologize if it seemed like I was questioning. I'm just trying to understand our clients better." Frank seemed satisfied and walked away, but Sarah kept working. She had promised Robert a report, and she was going to deliver it. On Thursday morning, Robert called an extraordinary board meeting. Sarah was called to present her findings. When she entered the main conference room, she felt all conversations cease. The table was occupied by 8 people. Robert at the head, Brenda from HR, Frank and his team, 2 directors she didn't know, and an elegant blonde woman who observed Sarah with special interest. "Everyone, Sarah discovered something interesting in the growth reports," Robert announced. "Sarah, can you show us what you found?" For 15 minutes, Sarah presented her analysis, showed charts, comparative tables, and financial impact projections. She methodically explained how she had reached her conclusions, maintaining a professional tone, even as she felt the tension rising in the room. In summary, she concluded, "We have a difference of approximately $300,000 in projected revenue versus actual revenue over the last 6 months. I recommend a complete audit of these 3 clients." The silence that followed was tense. Frank was visibly irritated. One of his team members looked embarrassed, and Brenda took notes with a neutral expression. "Those are very serious accusations," Frank finally said. "Are you suggesting our team is incompetent?" "Absolutely not," Sarah replied. I'm suggesting we have an opportunity to identify and correct a problem before it becomes bigger. The blonde woman spoke for the first time. Dr. Montgomery, may I ask Miss Olson a few questions? Robert nodded. Sarah, this is Dr. Patricia Vance, our external auditor. Miss Olson, your analysis is impressive, but how are you sure it's not just a difference in methodology between reports? Because I cross-referenced it with actual client payment data, Sarah replied. It's not methodology. It's a factual discrepancy. Patricia smiled. Very good, Robert. She's right. We had already identified this inconsistency, but hadn't yet presented our findings. The room fell into absolute silence. Frank seemed to pale, meaning, Robert said slowly, Sarah, in 4 days, identified a problem that took our audit team months to find. Exactly, Patricia confirmed, and her recommendations are accurate. We need to investigate these 3 clients immediately. When the meeting ended, Sarah returned to her desk with the feeling that she had crossed an invisible line. She had proven her competence, but she had also embarrassed people she would now have to work with every day. Frank walked past her desk without greeting her. One of his team members muttered something about trying to show off as she passed, but Robert approached her with a genuine smile. Excellent work. Patricia was impressed. Thank you. I hope I haven't created unnecessary problems. Unnecessary problems are the ones we ignore until they turn into crises, Robert said. You just saved the company $300,000. I think you deserve more than the corner desk. The following Monday, Sarah found her desk reorganized. It now faced the window with a view of the city and had a new computer. A small golden plaque with her name was positioned in front. New arrangement. Frank commented dryly when he arrived. Looks like it. Sarah replied, maintaining a neutral tone. But when she turned on her computer, she found an email from Robert. Congratulations on the excellent work. I'd like to discuss new projects with you. Can you have lunch with me today? Sarah looked around the room. Frank pretended to be focused on his screen, but she knew he was paying attention. The dynamic was changing and everyone knew it. She typed her response. It would be a pleasure. And for the first time since she started working there, Sarah smiled genuinely. She was starting to find her place. The Summit Room restaurant was on the top floor of the most exclusive commercial tower in the financial district. Sarah had never been anywhere so elegant. White-gloved waiters, silver cutlery, panoramic city views. It was the kind of environment where people like Robert Montgomery ate lunch every day, and where people like her only entered to serve. Nervous? Robert asked when they sat at the reserved table by the window. A little, Sarah admitted, adjusting the napkin on her lap. I'm not used to this. To working lunches at restaurants where the cheapest dish costs more than my day's salary at Global Dynamics. Robert laughed, and it was a genuine sound that warmed Sarah's chest. You have a refreshing honesty. Most people would pretend they frequent places like this every day. I don't see the point in pretending to be someone I'm not, she said, observing the city below. My daughter always says a lie has short legs. You have a daughter. It wasn't a question, and Robert seemed genuinely interested. Isabella, 7 years old, smart as a whip and stubborn as a mule. Sarah smiled when talking about the girl. She's with my neighbor now. Mrs. Rodriguez watches her when I'm working. And her father. The question caught Sarah off guard. Robert immediately realized he had touched a sensitive spot. Sorry, I shouldn't have asked. No, it's fine. Sarah took a deep breath. He left when he found out about the pregnancy. Said he was too young for responsibility. I was 23 at the time. That must have been difficult. It was, but Isabella is worth every difficulty. Sarah looked directly at Robert. And you, family. Robert hesitated. It was the first time in years someone had asked him that question without ulterior motives, without calculating advantages. No, I never married. I was engaged for 2 years, but it ended last year. May I ask why? She wanted to marry Robert Montgomery, CEO of Montgomery Corp. Not me, Robert the person. Sarah nodded with understanding. I get it. It must be hard to know when people genuinely like you or just what you represent. Exactly. Robert studied her with growing interest. How do you do that? What talk as if you've known me for years? Most people are intimidated or want something from me or try to impress me. Maybe because I have nothing to lose, Sarah said with a small smile. I've already lost my job, my house, my dignity. What else can happen? The waiter approached to take their order. Robert ordered the grilled salmon without even looking at the menu. Sarah quickly studied the options, trying not to show shock at the prices. The shrimp risotto, please, she finally said. When the waiter walked away, Robert leaned forward. Sarah, I want to talk about a special project. Of course. We have a very important potential client, Santander International Group. They want to hire consulting for a complete restructuring of their operations in Latin America. Sarah blinked. The Santander Group was one of the largest corporations on the continent. It's a $20 million contract over 3 years, Robert continued. The largest in Montgomery Corp's history. Wow, Sarah breathed. And I want you to lead the project. Sarah almost knocked over her water glass. Me? Robert, I've been with the company for 2 weeks. And in 2 weeks you identified a problem that our veteran team didn't see in 6 months. I need someone with your analytical eye. But Frank has much more experience. Frank is competent but predictable. Santander has already worked with dozens of predictable consulting firms. They want something different. Sarah was silent for a moment, processing the proposal. It was an incredible opportunity, but also terrifying. Why me, she finally asked. Because you think differently. Because you don't have corporate vices. Because you are brilliant. Robert paused. And because I trust you. Lunch arrived, but neither of them was paying much attention to the food. The conversation flowed naturally between work and personal matters. Robert talked about the pressure of running a company his father had built, about the loneliness of not knowing if people liked him or his money. Sarah talked about the difficulties of being a single mother, about the dreams she had to postpone to survive. Have you ever wanted to do something different? Sarah asked. Besides the company, I always wanted to write, Robert admitted. Fiction, crime novels? Seriously, Sarah smiled. Have you written anything? I have a few drafts saved, nothing good. How do you know if you've never shown anyone? Robert looked at her in surprise. No one has ever asked that. Maybe you should try. Life is too short to keep dreams in a drawer, and any saved dreams. Sarah hesitated. I always wanted to go back to school, get a master's, maybe a doctorate, but with Isabella and the bills, why not now? The company has a scholarship program. Robert, I just got here. Think about it, he interrupted her. Talents like yours deserve to be developed. Lunch stretched for 2 hours. When they finally left the restaurant, Sarah felt like she had made a true friend, but she also felt something more, something that made her nervous. On the way back to the office, Robert accompanied her to the 20th floor, instead of going straight up to the 30th. Frank watched the two of them talking by the elevator door, his expression growing darker. Sarah, Robert said before saying goodbye, I need an answer about the Santander project by Friday. I'll give it careful thought. Great, he paused. Thank you for lunch. It's been a long time since I had such a real conversation. When Robert disappeared into the elevator, Sarah returned to her desk with a smile she couldn't hide, but the smile died when she saw Frank standing next to her chair. Productive lunch? He asked with a tone that didn't hide his irritation. Very, Sarah replied, turning on her computer. I imagine. 2 hours with the boss. Must have discussed very important matters. Sarah turned to face him. Frank, if you have something to say it directly. I just find it interesting how quickly you managed to get Dr. Montgomery's attention. I've worked here for 8 years and have never been invited to lunch at the summit room. Maybe because you never saved the company $300,000, or maybe it's because you use methods that go beyond professional competence. The insinuation was like a slap in the face. Sarah stood up slowly, controlling her anger. Be careful what you imply. Frank, I may be new here, but I'm not stupid, and I'm definitely not what you're suggesting. I'm just saying that pretty women have certain advantages in the corporate world. And insecure men have certain disadvantages, Sarah retorted, especially when they spend more time criticizing colleagues than doing their own work. Frank turned red with anger, but before he could respond, Brenda appeared in the room. Sarah, can I speak with you? In Brenda's office, Sarah tried to remain calm, while the HR director observed her with a neutral expression. I need to ask you a few questions about your lunch with Dr. Montgomery. Of course, is it common for new employees to receive this kind of attention? Sarah frowned. I can't say. I'm a new employee, I understand. Brenda made some notes. Sarah, I need to be direct. Some people are commenting on your proximity to Dr. Montgomery. What kind of comments? The kind that can harm your career and the company's reputation. Sarah felt her stomach clench. Brenda, my relationship with Robert is strictly professional. He recognizes my work and wants to develop my potential. There is nothing more to it. I'm sure that's true. But perceptions can be as damaging as reality. What are you suggesting? That you maintain an appropriate professional distance for everyone's sake. Sarah left Brenda's office with a heavy heart. She knew Frank had planted doubts about her conduct, and that made her furious, but it also worried her. She couldn't deny that she felt something for Robert, beyond professional respect. On Thursday, Robert appeared at her desk with an envelope. An invitation to the company's charity gala. Next Saturday, all management employees are invited. Sarah opened the envelope. It was an event at the Plaza Hotel to raise funds for childhood education. Is it mandatory? No, but it would be good for you to show up. It's an opportunity to meet other departments, important clients. Robert, I need to talk to you about something. Of course, my office, 10 minutes. On the 30th floor, Sarah told him about the conversation with Brenda, about the comments, about the growing tension on the team. I understand, Robert said when she finished. And what do you think about it? I think I have to be more careful, maintain professional distance. Robert remained silent for a long moment. And what if I told you I don't want to maintain distance? The question caught Sarah off guard. Robert, she began, but he interrupted her. Sarah, I know it's complicated. I know it can cause problems, but I can't pretend you're just another employee. And I can't pretend I don't feel anything either, she admitted in a low voice. But I work here, I need this job, I know. And I would never put your job at risk. They looked at each other in silence, the tension palpable in the air. What do we do? Sarah finally asked. For now, we keep up appearances. Professional relationship in the office. But Sarah, Robert moved closer. You're going to the gala Saturday. I am. Then we'll have one night where we can just be Robert and Sarah, not boss and employee. When Sarah arrived home that night, Isabella ran to hug her as she always did. Mommy, you look different. Different how? You're smiling more. And your eyes are sparkling. Sarah hugged her daughter tightly. The child's intuition was frighteningly accurate. She was different. She was falling for the man who could destroy her career if things went wrong. But for the first time in years, she was willing to take the risk. The simple black dress Sarah had chosen for the charity gala cost half of her first paycheck. But when she looked at herself in the mirror of the Plaza Hotel restroom, she knew it had been worth it. It was elegant without being flashy, sophisticated without being pretentious. Exactly what she needed for a night where she would have to navigate between co-workers, important clients, and her own confused feelings. You look beautiful, Mommy, Isabella had said when she left home. You look like a princess. Standing in the gilded ballroom of the city's most famous hotel, Sarah felt more like Cinderella, trying not to be discovered before midnight. The event was in full swing. 200 people from the city's business elite circulated among tables decorated with white orchids, drinking French champagne and discussing multi-million-dollar deals. Sarah recognized some faces from business magazines, famous politicians, entrepreneurs who appeared on the news. Sarah, Robert's voice made her turn around. He looked stunning in his black tuxedo, more handsome than she allowed herself to admit. I'm glad you came. Thank you for the invitation. She tried to maintain a professional tone, but when Robert smiled, she felt her heart race. Come, I want to introduce you to some important people. During the first hour, Robert guided her through the ballroom, introducing her as our new special projects manager, responsible for saving the company $300,000 in her first 2 weeks. Sarah talked with directors from other companies, exchanged cards, discussed projects. It was a completely new world for her, but she found she could navigate the corporate conversations well. You're doing great, Robert murmured when they were alone for a moment. I'm trying not to embarrass myself. Impossible. You are the most interesting woman in the room. Before Sarah could reply, a feminine voice interrupted them. "Robert, what a surprise to see you here." They turned around. A tall, blonde, elegant woman approached with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. She wore a designer red dress that probably cost more than Sarah's car. She was exactly the type of woman who had frequented these events since childhood. "Camille," Robert said, his voice tightening. "I didn't expect to see you here. Daddy sponsored the event. You know how he loves social causes." Camille looked at Sarah with poorly disguised curiosity. "And you must be the famous new employee. I read about you in the monthly company report." "Sarah Olson," she introduced herself, extending her hand. "Camille Foster, Robert's ex-fiancée." The handshake was too firm, the smile too sharp. Sarah felt her stomach clench. This was the woman who had almost married Robert, the one who wanted the CEO instead of the person. "Sarah is leading our biggest project," Robert said quickly. "The Santander contract." "How interesting," Camille replied. But she was clearly studying Sarah. Robert has always been good at identifying talent. The way she said talent made it clear she wasn't just talking about professional competence. "Excuse me," Sarah said. "I'm going to get some water." She walked away quickly, feeling her face burn. She had no right to feel jealous. Robert was her boss, not her boyfriend. And Camille was exactly the type of woman who should be with him. Rich, sophisticated, from the same social world, first time at events like this. The male voice made her turn around. A dark-haired, well-dressed man smiled at her. He was handsome, but there was something in his gaze that made her uncomfortable. "Yes," she replied politely. "Frank Collins told me about you. Said you're Montgomery Corp's new rising star." Sarah frowned. "You know, Frank, we're cousins. And he told me some interesting things about how you managed to catch Robert's attention so quickly." The insinuation was clear. Sarah felt anger rising. "If you have something to say it directly. I'm just admiring your strategy. Smart, beautiful woman, in a vulnerable situation." Robert always had a weakness for underdog stories. "You don't know me," Sarah said, her voice low but firm. "And you know nothing about my professional relationship with Robert." "Professional relationship?" The man laughed. "Darling, everyone here can see the way you look at each other. It's nothing professional." Sarah placed her glass on the counter forcefully. "Have a good night." She walked away but heard the man say to someone Frank was right. "She's sharp." When she returned to the main ballroom, she found Robert and Camille talking in low tones. Their body language was tense, as if they were arguing about something important. "It's none of your business," Robert was saying. "Of course it's my business. I've known you for 10 years, Robert. I know when you're making a mistake. My personal life is no longer your concern. Your personal life affects the company. And the company affects my family too." Sarah hesitated, unsure whether she should approach or give them privacy. The decision was made when Camille saw her coming. "Oh good, you're back," Camille said with a fake smile. "I was just telling Robert how important it is to keep personal and professional lives separate." "Camille," Robert began, but she interrupted him. "Especially when there's such a difference in social position," she continued, looking directly at Sarah. "Camille." "Enough," Robert said, his voice laced with warning. "I'm just being realistic. Darling, you know how these relationships end. Someone always gets hurt." Sarah felt all her insecurities bubble to the surface. Chloe was voicing everything Sarah already thought privately. They were from different worlds. She didn't belong there, and sooner or later Robert would realize it. "Excuse me," Sarah said, forcing a smile. "I need to use the restroom." In the hotel's opulent restroom, Sarah looked at herself in the mirror and took a deep breath. She had two choices: let Chloe's words get to her, or keep her dignity and show she wasn't intimidated. When she returned, Robert was alone, searching for her with a worried look. "Where's Chloe?" Sarah asked. "She left." "Sarah, about what she said?" "She didn't say anything I didn't already know." Sarah kept her voice calm. "We're from different worlds, Robert. That's a fact. That doesn't matter." "Yes, it does. To your family, your friends, your partners, and to me too." Robert gently pulled her toward a more private corner. "Sarah, don't let her plant doubts in your head." "They aren't doubts, they're realities." Sarah looked around the gilded ballroom. "Look at this place, these people. This is your world. I'm a single mom from Fairview Heights who works at your company. You are much more than that. Maybe to you, But to the rest of the world, I'm the employee sleeping with the boss. Robert was silent for a moment. What if we are? What if we are getting involved? Does that change anything? The question caught Sarah off guard. It was the first time either of them had openly admitted that something was happening between them. It changes everything, she whispered. My job, my reputation, my peace of mind. And what do you want to do? Sarah looked into his eyes, seeing sincerity, vulnerability. He was a powerful man exposing himself, putting his reputation on the line for her. I don't know, she admitted. I just know I'm scared. Of what? Falling for you and finding out Chloe was right. Robert held her face with both hands, a gesture too intimate for a public event. Sarah, Chloe was wrong about everything, especially about you. Before she could answer, someone clapped into a microphone. Dinner was about to start, and everyone was directed to their tables. Sarah and Robert were separated, seated at different tables due to social protocol. During the meal, Sarah tried to focus on the conversations around her table, but her eyes constantly searched for Robert. He was at the main table talking with important executives, but he frequently looked her way too. It was during dessert that Frank approached her table. Sarah, can I talk to you for a moment? They stepped out onto the hotel terrace, where the nighttime view of the river stretched out before them. Beautiful night, Frank said. It is. Frank, if you came to talk about Robert, I came to warn you, his voice turned serious. About what's happening here tonight. I don't understand. My cousin told me about your conversation at the bar and I saw you with Chloe. People are talking, Sarah. Talking about what? That you're using Robert to climb the corporate ladder, that the Western Group project was just an excuse to promote you. Sarah felt her blood run cold. That's not true. I know it's not. Your work speaks for itself, but people don't care about facts when they have juicy gossip. Why are you telling me this? Frank sighed. Because despite our differences, I recognize your competence and I don't want to see you screw up your career because of feelings. What feelings? Sarah, it's written all over your face that you're in love with him, and it's written all over his face too. Sarah remained silent, unsure how to respond. My advice, Frank continued. Define what you two are fast, because this ambiguous situation is hurting you more than it's hurting him. When they returned to the ballroom, the party was winding down. Robert immediately approached her. Everything okay? I saw you two on the terrace. Fine, Sarah lied. Robert, I need to leave. Isabella is with the neighbor, of course. I'll drive you home. You don't have to. I insist. In the car during the drive back to Fairview Heights, they were silent most of the time. Sarah stared out the window, lost in thought, while Robert drove, focused on the night traffic. Sarah, he said when they stopped at a traffic light. What did Frank tell you? The truth, she turned to look at him. That people are talking about us. That my reputation is being questioned. That I need to decide what I want. And what do you want? Sarah took a deep breath. It was time to be honest, even if it hurt. I want you, she said simply. But I don't know if I can afford the price. Robert pulled the car up in front of the simple apartment building where she lived. It was a stark contrast to the glamorous world they had just left behind. Sarah, I won't lie and say it will be easy, but some things are worth fighting for. What if it's not? What if Chloe was right, and you get tired of me once the novelty wears off? Robert turned off the engine and faced her completely. You want to know what Chloe never understood? I wasn't looking for someone from my world. I was looking for someone who made me want to be a better man. He held her hand. You do that to me, Sarah. You remind me who I really am beyond the money and the power. Sarah felt her eyes fill with tears. Robert, think about what Frank said. Define what you want, because I already have. He leaned in and kissed her softly. A kiss filled with promises and fears. When they separated, Sarah knew there was no turning back. She was completely in love, and it would change everything. The Monday after the charity gala arrived, thick with tension. Sarah walked into the office knowing everything had changed. The kiss in the car had sealed something between her and Robert, but it had also opened a door that could no longer be closed. Now everyone would see, everyone would comment, everyone would judge. Frank greeted her with a neutral nod as she passed his desk. The rest of the team barely looked her way. It was as if an invisible bubble had formed around Sarah, separating her from everyone else. Whispers ceased when she approached. Conversations died in the air as if she were a stranger. At 10 in the morning, Brenda appeared in the office with an expression that promised nothing good. Her lips were pressed into a thin line, and she held a folder of documents with excessive force. "Sarah, I need to speak with you. My office, please." The walk to human resources had never felt so long. Sarah knew she was about to face consequences she had tried to avoid, but which became inevitable the moment she allowed feelings to override professionalism. Each step echoed in the hallway like a drumbeat. "Sit down," Brenda said, closing the door with a definitive click. "We need to discuss your situation at the company." "My situation? Let's not pretend we don't know what I'm talking about. Your proximity to Dr. Sterling is creating an uncomfortable environment for other employees." "What kind of discomfort?" "The kind that questions whether your promotions and opportunities are based on merit or other factors." Sarah felt anger rise like hot lava, but controlled herself. "My work speaks for itself, Brenda. I saved the company $300,000. I identified flaws no one else saw. I'm leading the biggest project in Sterling Corp. History. And all of that happened after you caught Dr. Sterling's personal attention. It happened because I'm good at what I do." Brenda sighed, taking off her glasses and massaging the bridge of her nose. "Sarah, I'm not questioning your competence. I'm trying to protect you and the company from a situation that could become legally complicated." "Legally?" Relationships between superiors and subordinates can lead to lawsuits for favoritism, hostile work environment, or harassment. It's a gray area that could blow up in our faces. Sarah was silent, processing the implications. She knew cases at other companies where similar situations had ended in scandals, firings, and multi-million-dollar lawsuits. "What are you suggesting?" she finally asked. "A transfer to another department. Same role, same salary, but without direct subordination to Dr. Sterling. And if I refuse?" Brenda hesitated, clearly uncomfortable. "Then we'll have to consider other options, for the good of everyone." The veiled threat hung in the air like a heavy cloud. Sarah understood perfectly. "Accept the transfer or risk losing her job. I need time to think." "Of course, but not much time. The situation is becoming untenable." When Sarah returned to her desk, she found Robert waiting for her. He was tense, clearly worried, his hands resting on her desk as he watched the movement in the room. "Brenda told me about the conversation," he said quietly. "We're going to fix this." "How?" "I'm meeting with the board this afternoon. I'll clarify our situation and ensure you're treated fairly." "Robert, no." Sarah held his arm, feeling the tense muscles beneath the fabric of his shirt. "That will only make things worse. It will look like you're protecting me, confirming all their suspicions." "Then what do you suggest?" Sarah looked around the room, saw the curious glances, the muffled whispers, everyone waiting to see how the situation would resolve, how the corporate drama would unfold. "Let me prove my worth once and for all," she said with determination. "With the Western Group project. If I can close that deal, no one will be able to question my competence." Robert frowned, genuine concern etched on his face. "Sarah, Western is a complex contract. They are known for being extremely demanding. They've rejected 14 proposals in the last 2 years. Then it's the perfect opportunity. If I fail, you have a reason to fire me. If I succeed, no one can ever say I got here for any other reason." "It's too risky." "Robert, I'm already taking risks. At least let them be for the right reasons." That afternoon, Sarah locked herself in the conference room with piles of documents about the Western Group. She studied their financial history, organizational structure, previous projects, and the failures of other consulting firms. It was like assembling a gigantic puzzle, where each piece revealed more about the challenge she faced. She worked late, ordering pizza that she ate distractedly while analyzing spreadsheets. She kept studying data until her eyes burned. When she finally left the office, it was past midnight, and the building was silent as a mausoleum. On Tuesday, she dove even deeper into the research. She discovered that the Western Group wasn't just demanding. They were strategic. They tested consultants not only with technical questions, but with complex hypothetical situations that revealed the true strategic thinking of the professionals. On Wednesday, she presented a preliminary proposal to Robert that left him impressed. It wasn't just a conventional restructuring. It was an innovative plan that identified growth opportunities other consultants hadn't seen, turning costs into investments, problems into solutions. "How did you think of this?" Robert asked, studying the charts and projections that covered the entire conference table. Experience at Apex Energy. When a company is in crisis, you learn to see solutions that aren't obvious. You learn that sometimes the problem isn't where everyone is looking. "This is brilliant. Thank you. Now I need you to get me a meeting with them." "Sarah, normally that would take weeks of negotiation, preliminary meetings." "Robert, trust me." Robert studied her face for a long moment. He saw determination. He saw intelligence. He saw the woman he had fallen in love with fighting for what she believed in. "I'll call them now." By Friday, Sarah was in the most important conference room at Sterling Corp, facing 5 executives from the Western Group. They were serious men, expensive suits, Swiss watches, accustomed to dealing with millions as if they were pennies. They had rejected dozens of similar proposals and had a reputation for destroying entire consulting firms with impossible questions. "Ms. Oliveira," the CEO began, a bald man in his 60s with eyes that seemed like X-rays. "We have 15 minutes. Impress us." For 15 minutes, Sarah spoke passionately about operational efficiency, synergy between departments and cost optimization, but she didn't just talk cold numbers. She talked about people, about how structural changes affect employees, about the importance of maintaining high morale during transitions. She spoke about sustainable growth instead of desperate cuts. "Interesting," said one of the executives when she finished, a younger man who had been taking notes constantly. "Most consulting firms focus only on cuts." "Cuts are easy," Sarah replied, looking him straight in the eye. "Anyone with a calculator can tell you where to cut costs. Sustainable growth is the real challenge. And how do you guarantee that growth? By investing in the right people, the right processes, the right culture. You don't need a consulting firm to tell you where to cut expenses. You need one to tell you where to invest to grow." The executives exchanged meaningful glances. Robert, who had remained silent throughout the presentation as agreed, watched with growing admiration. Sarah was brilliant, showing exactly why he had fallen in love, not just with the woman, but with the exceptional professional. "Ms. Oliveira," the CEO finally said, removing his glasses and cleaning the lenses with deliberate care. "We have never heard a proposal like this." Sarah's heart pounded. She couldn't decipher if that was good or bad. The silence in the room was thick as fog. In 15 years at the Western Group, we have hired dozens of consulting firms. All of them promised to cut costs, reduce expenses, streamline operations. You are the first one who promises to make us grow. Because I believe you can grow. You have the structure, the resources, the potential. You just need someone who sees opportunities where others see problems. We want to see your full proposal by Monday. Will it be ready? And we want you personally to lead the project if approved." Sarah felt the world spin. "Me? You? We don't want a company. We want you." When the executives left, Robert approached Sarah with a smile that lit up his entire face. "You did it." "Not yet. They just want to see the full proposal." "Sarah, in 15 years at Sterling Corp, I've never seen anyone impress the Western people in the first meeting. They are known for dismissing consultants in 5 minutes. Sarah smiled, feeling a mixture of relief and exhaustion. Now comes the hard part. Over the weekend, Sarah worked tirelessly on the final proposal. Robert showed up on Saturday with gourmet coffee and salmon sandwiches and ended up staying to help. They worked side by side, discussing details, refining strategies, building something together that was bigger than both of them. "Isabella is with your neighbor?" Robert asked when they took a break. "She is. Mrs. Carter loves watching her on weekends. Says it reminds her of her granddaughter who lives far away. I'd like to meet her." Sarah looked at him, surprised by the sincerity in his tone. "Seriously? Of course. She's an important part of your life. If we want to have a future together, I need to know all the important parts of you. Robert, if you meet my daughter, that makes everything more serious. It's already serious for me. More serious than anything I've ever felt in my life." By Monday, the 60-page proposal was impeccable. Sarah presented it to the Western executives in a meeting that lasted 4 hours. They asked difficult questions, challenged projections, and tested her knowledge in specific areas she didn't even know she had mastered. How would you handle internal resistance during implementation? One of the executives asked. With transparency and constant communication. Change generates fear, and fear generates resistance. But when people understand the why before the how, resistance turns into collaboration. And what if the results don't show up in the first quarter? Sustainable growth doesn't happen in 3 months, but measurable progress does. I would establish small, achievable milestones to keep motivation high while we work toward the bigger goals. Impressive, the CEO said at the end, closing the proposal folder. We will analyze this internally and give you an answer in 48 hours. The next 48 hours were the longest of Sarah's life. She tried to work normally but couldn't concentrate. Frank and the team watched her with curiosity, knowing something important was happening. Even Brenda passed by the office a few times, pretending to check on other things but clearly interested in the outcome. On Wednesday afternoon, Robert's phone rang. Sarah was in his office discussing another project when the call came. She saw his expression change, becoming serious and focused. He asked a few technical questions, jotted down numbers and nodded several times. I understand. Yes, we will arrange everything. Thank you for your trust. When he hung up, he remained silent for a moment that felt eternal, staring at the phone as if he couldn't believe what he had heard. And? Sarah asked, her heart in her throat. Robert slowly stood up, walked to the window and stood with his back to her, looking out at the city below. The silence stretched until Sarah almost screamed with anxiety. Then he turned around, an immense smile spreading across his face. Congratulations. You just closed the biggest deal in Sterling Corp history. Sarah froze for a few seconds, unable to process the words. Seriously? $20 million over 3 years. And they want you as the exclusive project leader. The emotion exploded like a dam breaking. Sarah started crying, laughing and shaking all at once. Robert hugged her, spinning her around in the middle of the office while she sobbed with relief and happiness. They went down together to the 20th floor, where Robert made the announcement. The room erupted in applause. Frank stood up, applauding genuinely for the first time. The rest of the team came over to congratulate Sarah with real respect. Brenda rushed in with champagne she had saved for special emergencies. $20 million over 3 years, Robert announced to everyone, his voice filled with pride. Thanks to the exceptional work of our newest partner, Sarah Oliveira. Partner, Sarah whispered, stunned. After a contract like that, did you think you were going to stay an employee? That night, Robert took Sarah to dinner at the same restaurant where they had first had lunch, but this time it was different. They were no longer boss and employee navigating dangerous waters. They were two professionals who had built something together. Two people who had found love in the middle of corporate chaos. How do you feel? Robert asked, toasting with Dom Perignon champagne. Relieved, validated, happy, Sarah smiled, feeling tears of gratitude well up. And in love, even knowing it won't be easy, especially knowing it won't be easy. Robert held her hand across the table, their fingers intertwined just as their lives had become intertwined. Sarah, I want you to know one thing. Regardless of what happens between us, you earned your place in this company on your own merit. No one can ever question that again. And what is going to happen between us? Whatever you want to happen. Sarah looked into his eyes, saw sincerity, saw love, saw a future that finally seemed possible. I want to meet your parents, she said without hesitation. I want you to meet Isabella. I want us to stop hiding what we feel. To hell with people and their judgment. I've learned that life is too short to waste true love out of fear of what others will think. Robert smiled and brought her hand to his lips, kissing her fingers tenderly. Then let's stop hiding. 6 months later, Sarah was in the office she now shared with Robert as a partner at Sterling and Oliveira Consulting. The Western Group contract had been so successful that it generated 8 other similar contracts. The company grew. She was promoted to partner, and finally no one questioned her competence or her position anymore. Isabella adored Robert, who had proven to be a caring and present stepfather. He picked her up from school, helped with homework and took her out for ice cream on Saturdays. They had moved into a larger apartment, closer to the girls' school, with a special room just for her and a study area where Sarah could work from home. Mommy, Isabella said one night during dinner, is Robert going to stay with us forever? Why do you ask, sweetie? Because I like him. And you look happier when he's here. Your eyes sparkle more. Sarah hugged her daughter, looking out the living room window where Robert was on the balcony talking on the phone about work. He gestured, animatedly, completely absorbed in the conversation about a new contract with an American company. And she smiled, realizing how much she loved him. I think so, sweetie. I think he's going to stay forever. And when Robert walked into the room and kissed her, as he did every night when he came home, Sarah knew she had made the right choices. That it had been worth getting drenched in the rain that day, because the rain had led her right here to love, to family, to the place where she always belonged. End of story. Dear listeners, we hope the story of Sarah and Robert moved you deeply. To continue this captivating journey, we've prepared a special playlist featuring equally compelling stories. Find it here by clicking to your left. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit that like button. Every day we bring you unique stories that explore the complexity of life and human relationships. Don't miss our upcoming content, filled with emotion, triumph, and true love. We look forward to seeing your comments below to hear what you thought of this beautiful story of Sarah, who arrived drenched in the rain, but found much more than a job. She found her true destiny.